Hello, hello.
All
We're
right,
live.
how's it
Let's
going,
see if
everybody?
it should load in here. We'll give it a second. We're loaded. Beautiful. Welcome, everyone. Super excited to, well, I can't see y'all, but to know you're here, to know you're watching. I see some comments flowing in. I know we're up on Twitter, we're up on YouTube, and obviously StreamYard directly. So it's cool to see y'all. We'll give it a second. I know we just click live and sometimes there's a lag, so we'll let people kind of fill in. Hey, there's Chris the GOAT, Alex, Sean, Rock, Kevin, Eric, Jan, Jaren. I love it. Brings me back. I haven't done I mean we've done lives on and off, but like it brings me back to the A2A challenge days of just seeing all the folks in the chat. Definitely some names I recognize. Blake. What's up, guys? Tony.
Sean
Cool.
the Don.
So I mean we'll start it slow. We'll kind of give people a little bit, but this is all fully recorded as well. So if anyone here's watching and you need to jump out at any time, just know that if you signed up through the StreamYard registration, you'll get it in your email. If you're in the buy box, we'll have a link for you, and then it should just live on YouTube as well, kind of forever at least, for this first one that you can kind of go back to and watch. But let's talk about a little bit what we're doing here. So this is the first of 15, which is a crazy number, kind of videos or webinars that we're going to be putting on through Q4, one every week. Today's a special one. Number one, because it's at night. So this is probably the only one that you'll see us after dark. So we're excited for that. But number two, because we get to see y'all and this is open to everyone. And we really wanted to do that. We want to make sure that we were able to provide as much value as possible to the community at large. And then moving forward, we have Jeff and Joe here, and we're going to be doing one every single week with these guys in the buy box, which is our group that we can talk about at the end for anyone who wants to join. But this one will always be free and always accessible for you to come back and watch the recording. Today's specific topic, which is kind of perfect. We had pre-planned some of these topics a bit ago, and it kind of worked out that unfortunately, Amazon, is being Amazon, and they make some adjustments and make some changes, and it doesn't always work out for every seller. And so today specifically is about risk mitigation. When talking about Q4, we just had a big, issue with people getting gated or kind of kicked off certain listings that maybe was slightly avoidable. If you kind of saw the writing on the wall when it comes to UPC matches and GS1s, we've had some issues obviously with brands going dark or going hard gated. We've had some things where people just go really, really deep and kind of get destroyed a little bit. And that's the worst feeling, especially going into Q4 when really all of your capital can be deployed in the most profitable way possible in these next 3 or 4 months compared to any other time of the year. And so the first part of this call is really going to be talking about how do we reduce the level of risk that we have going into October so that if something were to occur, it doesn't kill us. And how do we just avoid some of those things altogether, like the GS1 problems? And then number two is how do we maximize the leverage and the profit that we have? Like we have money, we have sales, hopefully they're going to start kicking up. And how do we maximize this Q4 to make that money come back to us either through Q4 or obviously going into Q1? So super excited to talk about both those things, and particularly with Jeff and Joe here. And I know there's some questions. Yes, it will be recorded. I know that people have asked that. Yes, 100% recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime at your leisure. But yeah, Jeff, Joe, how you guys doing tonight?
Doing great. Looking forward to it. Can't believe Q4 is already here. It's nuts.
Well, we got a week, right?
We got a week, but
we're ahead of the curve.
That time that you should be starting to load up with the timelines with at least if you're doing FBA, and God forbid you're trying to do LTL or FTL, it's you want to be getting those shipments in. So, but yeah, dive into, I guess, just in general. I mean, Q4 velocity, right? And even just timeline, right? Q4 officially starts. What do we got? Is it a week from today, or is next week at some point? We are.
Yeah, it's either a week or a week and a day. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's exactly a week from today. So a week from today hits Q4. But unless there's a lot of opportunities in October and early November with Halloween, though Halloween costumes is a challenging endeavor to invest in. I used to do it, a lot, but the returns are just so bad. It's just a rental, become a rental shop nowadays. But the real Q4 really starts middle of November. You'll start to see things ramping up in November, and then by the time you get to middle of November, things are really starting to move. And then once you hit Black Friday, and even that week, but definitely by Black Friday, from Black Friday to the end of, to essentially whenever you can get, items to a customer and still be good for Christmas. I mean, the sales are, insane. I usually say that you should target doubling your revenue and profit in November, and then 3 to 5 exit in December. It really depends. It does depend on the categories. It also depends on your level of, ability to get capital. And if you want to 5x your revenue in December, you're going to have to put a boatload of work in. And that's, really a decision that you have to make. But if you really want to take advantage, the velocity is there. A lot of things will sell. Toys, most toys will sell 10 to 20x. There's a lot more opportunities because so many things are going out of stock and prices are increasing on Amazon and beyond Amazon, Walmart, other platforms, and a lot of opportunity. But as the topic this is too is risk mitigation. So the opportunity is there. There is a lot of increased velocity, from a timing perspective, did they announce the date that you're supposed to have stuff in before?
Yeah, they sent out a thing.
I know last year was October 19th. I think it's even earlier this year. I know it's like October 12th. It's something insane that if you're sending something FBA, you're supposed to have it in middle of October to have it actually check in by Black Friday. And honestly, I'm not even super comfortable with October 15th if you're doing trucks, which we do a lot of trucks. And, we're seeing, LTLs like 3 weeks just to start like checking in. And then that's not including once it checks in, they're going to put you on back order for 2 weeks. So you got 5 weeks from shipment date, before you're probably mostly available for sale. So October 15th, probably right about best case scenario, you're going to be, ready for Black Friday. So from what I'm seeing at SPD, definitely a little quicker. But the trucking appointment system has been pretty bad, unless you can go a little quicker if you book your own appointments, but sometimes even getting appointments hard. But so got to start ramping up. And then what comes with that is obviously the risk. Last year we had massive gatings that hit people. I think it was right around November 15th. This year, we've already started with various gatings, and then the UPC match, the GTI exemptions started, and there was a big round that I think hit a couple weeks ago with a lot of Crayola. I forget what other brands hit, but I know a lot of the Crayola bundles got taken down. And then this last round, a lot of Bath and Body Works got zapped. And something that you really need to consider when you're sourcing is 2 things. One, is it a UPC match? If it's a UPC match, you have a better chance that the listing is legit. The other way to go around it though is go to GS1. I forget the exact website, but you can go to GS1 website, put in a UPC, and confirm that the UPC of that ASIN is tied to the brand. Because if it's not, then you have a risk that at some point Amazon's going to identify that as not a GS1 match, and they're going to either take down the listing or they're going to put it in the at-risk listings, which they give you another month. I don't know how they decide which ones they'll give you the month and which ones they zap. But Bath and Body Works is a huge brand on Amazon. They don't use GS1. So I'm pretty sure you won't find a single item on Bath and Body Works that matches to GS1, because Bath and Body Works doesn't use GS1. So every listing, if you decide to sell Bath and Body Works, you know you're taking that risk that it could be zapped. So it's just something to consider. Can you still sell that and make boatloads of money for periods of times? Certainly, but it's definitely something you want to consider as you're sourcing. Is this compliant with Amazon's, GS1, rule? I don't know exactly how to call it, but essentially, if your UPC of the ASIN does not tie back to the brand, GS1, I guess just to take a step back, the way GS1 works is a brand can registers their UPCs. It's the first like 6 or 8. I don't know the exact breakdown of the UPCs, or 5, something like that. And so Nike, they go and they get their UPCs and they buy them from GS1, and they're all registered so that way, if you go to GS1 and you put in that UPC, you can see, hey, hopefully that's actually tied to Nike, and that means it's a more legitimate listing. Again, it could still be tied, but the brand is not Nike, and then you got another issue. But those are the things that you got to be watching for and take into consideration when you're buying. Now, will I still flip things in Q4 that are not GS1? Probably, but it's a risk, and especially if you have 75% of your business based off stuff that's not GS1 matches, then you're running and operating at a higher risk. And ultimately, those are the things that you need to consider as you're sourcing is, and making buying decisions. Is this a legitimate ASIN? Is it a UPC match? Is the UPC tied to GS1? And that helps mitigate at least that risk. Other thing you need to do or should be doing, I'm going to throw it in the chat in case people don't know where it is. Let's see. But you want to go to look at this, it's called Fixed Your Products. It used to be right on Seller Central, and now they sort of hidden how you get there, but that's a direct link there. And then at the bottom, it's at risk listings, and anything that is, not, I shouldn't say anything that Amazon has identified as not a GS1, or they call it a GTNI exemption, or not. What do they call it? Let's see. Pull it up on my end. GTNIs. Yeah. They'll put a due date on it. So, they might, if you have something, again, a lot of people with Bath and Body sold some Bath and Body Works, they'll find some stuff in there, right? It'll say due on 10/4. You need to sort of fix this issue that it's not, GS1. Now, of course, there's no way to fix it, to my knowledge, because again, Bath and Body Works in general doesn't even have GS1. If it's something that you're working with a brand owner, wholesale, maybe you can get it fixed, but from, Bath and Body Works bundles, a lot of stuff that people use, like old eBay UPCs or whatever they used, it's not going to be compliant. And on the due date, the listings are likely going to disappear. So my team looks at that on a daily basis. We identify ones that are in there, and then boom, we know we want to price to sell anything that pops in there. Depending, if I have 5 days worth of stock, then I don't necessarily have to price to sell. But if I have 28 days of stock and I have 30 days to sell, I'm going to be pushing to move the product. So
that makes sense. Are you checking the same listing multiple times? Does it ever change? Or once it's set and good, it's set and good?
Once it shows up on my so when you go to that link on the bottom left, you'll see at risk invalid information. If you have any that are GTNI issues, you click on that we monitor. Now, it does change. We had some Bath and Body Works listings that got zapped, and then just all of a sudden was back. I don't know why. I don't know how, because again, they're not really compliant. But there's obviously a lot of Bath and Body Works sales on there, and I'm sure there's other suppliers, but that was the big one that got hit. Crayola was a big one.
I think Victoria's Secret might fall into that camp as well. Worth checking. And for those, curious, you can grab UPCs directly from Keepa, right? So it's like they're not hidden. You can go into Keepa and go to data beforehand, go to the GS1's website and use those UPCs to check
Yeah.
what's been linked.
And if you have RevSell or Ace and Zen,
Yeah.
I would think what's the other one?
Yeah,
Miles
they also
Warren is cool.
yeah, SellerAmp. They should all have some version of
there's
UPC
plenty of different places you can pull the
somewhere.
UPC.
Yeah, the reason that you get them is because there's stores that if they're not selling that anywhere else, they're only selling through their own stores. They're not required to have that. They can do whatever they want with it. So when it comes to selling on Amazon, it gets around the requirement, and then people find whatever actual UPC that's out there that works. And then at some point, when it seems like Amazon's going through and checking the stuff, they're realizing that UPC either isn't registered on GS1 or it doesn't match the brand that's there. So you'll find all these different things like Sean was asking about Mattel earlier, and like you'll see some that say like Hot Wheels, and like that's not right. Like it's so they'll have different things that are all misidentified, and those are things that you want to keep an eye out for. You'll see things that are spelled differently or have weird things in the brand. So if you're newer to it and haven't been seeing this forever, which has always been an issue, is you really got to pay attention to the spelling of what the brand is. And
sellers have and this is no crack because I'm one of them. We have short-term memories. At least I do. Like we ran into a huge issue, if you guys recall, right? We went into a big misbranded issue on Amazon. Was it last year? Or generic, right? Where everything was like, getting flagged for being generic. That isn't as rampant anymore, right? But it's still a thing that gets affected. And so I still have to talk people out of selling misbranded listings weekly. And that's something that's really easy to forget to check. So we're talking about Q4. It's so it's so exciting. You want to list that product. And again, to Jeff's point, maybe if you have one of them, you take that chance. But our jobs here today, in my opinion, is we're kind of walking through the most conservative, less risky way of doing things. And then it's up to you guys as individual sellers to decide what is worth your risk tolerance. The last thing that we want to do is teach or show you something that is risky and then not tell you it's risky. So always check the brands, always check GS1, kind of have these check boxes. And then if you still decide what you want to do after that, that is your call, but at least you know the right way to do it and what risk you're actually taking by selling that product.
Exactly.
So
and
that is
good.
Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll still sell some stuff that is not GS1 and take that risk. But again, one, you want to understand that risk, know that risk, keep that in mind when you're making repricing decisions, right? Stuff that I know, hey, this is a little riskier. Price tanks, I'm not holding that for 2 months hoping it recovers, right? Especially if I have, X amount of money invested into it. It's, this one I know is a little riskier. This one I'm going to be a little more aggressive with my repricing. This UPC match, brand match, I know I can sell it on other platforms. I can hold my price a little bit more. You just making those decisions and understanding that, again, not getting yourself too invested, that 75% of your money, is invested in non-compliant listings.
Yeah,
So
that's a huge one. I kind of made a short video on it recently, but I want to like harp on that. One of those points you made, which is, when you're going, I think this is more for going deep, right? But if you're going heavy into something, it's so helpful to understand how that product does across market, even if it's eBay or local. Because if I can buy something and at worst case break even somewhere else, that gives me way more confidence than if Amazon is 5x everywhere else. Because if Amazon doesn't work out, then I'm stuck losing money versus potentially just breaking even or even making a small profit elsewhere. Way more confidence in going into that listing versus something where if I lose it, I lose it, and I'm not only out my inventory, but I'm out a lot of profit in the meantime. Looks like we have a question here.
So David, I mean, there's a couple ways you can do it. I mean, one is if you're scanning an actual item and it pops up and it's on the item and it you physically have that thing or it's listed on their site or whatever, and you can cross-check that and see that it's on Amazon. I don't know that I'd necessarily dig in to see if it's actually GS1 at that point, because usually it's going to match up on there because they're not allowing you to put like partial UPCs in anymore like they had years ago. So you're probably okay on that. But I mean, the best way is you can easily go on the GS1 site and drop in the UPC, it'll pop right up. Now it'll give you the proper brand too. So like Milwaukee Tools is a great one. There's Milwaukee Tools, Milwaukee Electric Company. There's like all these different things that are Milwaukee, but like Milwaukee's actual brand, I think, is Milwaukee like Electric Company. But so on GS1, it might list whatever the parent one is, but Amazon might allow it to sell under other brand names, which could get you into trouble later. But I think the UPC portion of it matching is the more important part of it at this point.
Yeah, and I would love to, we've obviously talked about UPCs and GS1s here. There's the big elephant in the room, which I've already seen some questions about, which is toys, and CPCs and testing docs. And Jeff, obviously you mentioned toys going into Q4. We have all had success in toys. I mean, we didn't really do an intro, but I think between us, we've all been selling at least 7 years. Some of us, I think Jeff, like over a decade. And so toys have always been a huge part of Q4. This isn't the first time Amazon has done something in the toy category going into Q4 to make it difficult. They've done some ridiculous things over the years. One of which, I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was even pre-2020, I think it was November, they just kind of hard-gated everyone in toys for FBM. So like you couldn't do any FBM toys unless you had hit a imaginary metric that they didn't tell you about beforehand. And that really obviously screwed a lot of people who had been holding and waiting. But this year, it seems like it's not just Amazon, right? It's across multiple channels, Walmart and Amazon and others, and likely coming from some higher up legislation where, hey, we're going to require these Trojan Protective certificates and we're going to require this testing. Jeff, how are you, and I can talk about how I'm doing it, but how are you mitigating any of that? We're looking at toys now in September and you're hoping to sell them in December. And Amazon really hasn't given us any clue on when these tests are going to be required. And it doesn't seem like it's a constant universal date. It's kind of ASIN dependent. Are you treating toys differently this year?
So right now I'm still buying Lego, which is the main toys that I've been purchasing, with
Lucky
the expectation that Lego sells. I can sell them locally. I can sell them on eBay. I can sell them on Amazon. Now I'm trying not to go too crazy, knowing, hey, it sells 500 a month on Amazon, but how hard am I going to go? Other thing with Lego is my expectation is if it's sort of an 18 plus set, that it hopefully avoids the
some of the 12 under
requirements. Now, I don't know that because they still argue, hey, it says 18 plus for kids, but but outside of that, I haven't shifted much from Lego. But outside of that, we have not been ramping up on toys yet. I tend to be heavy toys in November. Granted, there was definitely some stuff that I would usually purchase around now that I've literally just passed on. I said I have no idea what's going to happen between the GS1 issue and because I don't believe they were GS1 either. It was and I'm like, nope, I'm sticking away from this right now. And my approach will be what we do a lot of with toys in Q4 is purchase it from somewhere that hopefully ships it within 48 hours. And I have them sold FBM within 48 hours. And in some cases,
okay.
A lot of times, a lot of the toys that we move outside of Lego and including Lego, I sell within 24 hours of hitting the buy button. Like it just,
So how are you? So when you're purchasing quantities, you're looking at that really short window. Like, are you buying for 30? Like, how are you buying just a week's worth of inventory? Like, what does that look like then?
I mean, in some cases, I may start. Maybe I shouldn't say sold out within 48 hours, but there's certain things they just move so fast, right? Like if something sells, 1,000 a month in December, and that's what is that? I mean, whatever. If it's selling 100 a day in Q4, which is not completely unrealistic with some of the Q4 things that we purchase, and it's hard to get. If I can get 50, it's 48 hours worth. Now,
sure.
If I can get 500, I will get 500. If I can get 1,000, I'll get 1,000. But lots of times there's just not that much stock, which is part of the reason why it's so good, right? That's why it's jacking up in price. And again, something we'll go into in some of the future webinars, but we use a lot of different tools and features to identify the items that have recently went out of stock. We find those items that recently went out of stock, then we identify and build online an RA build list, and then we just buy as much of those as we can. A lot of them will be show up within 24 to 48 hours, and we'll have them listed and sold. Again, some of them may last. We might buy 2 weeks worth, but we're not buying a lot. It's not like right now, like if I'm buying for FBA, I'm buying, you're shipping it in, you're waiting, and you're hoping to sell it in 6 to 8 weeks, right? So your risk area is bigger. But the toys that we will really hammer, my assumption is it's on Amazon now. It's going to be a 2 to 3 week risk at max will be, what we're going to be looking at.
But my main concern with the toys, my hesitation with going too hard with it this Q4, is that some of the ASINs that are brought into question, that are asking for documents, Amazon's selling. So it's like, how, like,
well, that's the left hand, right hand. They it doesn't matter if they have it, they want you to have it.
That's the part that scares me, is that there's like another thing about to happen that they're going to start asking for, and hopefully it's not as bad as all the Walmart stuff. But
I mean, they've been doing that for a long time. I mean, I don't remember the last time I didn't have 20 plus CPC requests on my account for toys. I mean, for at least a year, if not 2 years, and some of them Amazon is on. Up to this point, to be very honest with you, I do tend to ignore them when I get the email, because I'm confident I'm going to sell out, or someone else is going to send the listing. And so CPCs overall, I don't really get concerned with. The thing that concerns me is more the testing docs, because we don't know. They've come out recently with the authorized list of testing companies. A lot of the language is really geared towards brand owners, but it sounds like resellers are going to be eligible. I don't think I've heard that confirmed. Maybe I'm late to the news. So I just have more concerns about that, especially for holds or toys that I've been sitting on, or maybe I'm going to be the last seller on. Well, now am I going to have to pay? Probably, right? Based on what I'm understanding, I'm going to have to pay for the testing, which if that's $1,000, I have to have a lot of these toys to make it worth my while. So that's what I'm really waiting to hear out. That's why I agree though with Lego and some of these other toy brands. I mean, toys in general, if you have the space and the capital, a lot of toys just mature very nicely, even if they're not Lego. I can think of 10 brands that I could buy today at Target, and in the next couple of years, they're going to be worth selling on eBay for a profit. Now, I have to have the space and I have to have the capital, and it has to make sense. But I actually find toys to be one of the less risky categories because of that, versus some of these other ones. But it's still like, if you don't have a lot of room in your business model, it can really hurt. And so I know we have some show notes, and one of the things we wrote down here, I think Jeff wrote, is quick flips, right? FBM with an exclamation point. And so I think if you're looking at this Q4 and this is not your first Q4, and I can speak from experience, this is what, number 8 or number 9. I actually historically had not done very much FBM Q4. I was very I'm not going to call myself lazy, but I was really just like, FBA is where it's at. I'm going to use prep centers to go FBA. I don't want to have to deal with it. I didn't have a warehouse for most of the time. I was running out of an apartment or a basement, and I had other jobs, and it was just too much for me to handle. But looking at this Q4, it feels like FBM is, I'm not going to say required, but it is a bigger advantage this year than I think I would have said it was any other year, because of the risks associated right now with some of this inventory and the check-in times associated. You could buy something today and send it to FBA, and by the time it checks in, that listing's zapped. And now you're paying to have it recalled, and you missed your biggest opportunity of the year to actually sell it anywhere for money. So if you can FBM, I think you got to start doing that now, figuring out what that system looks like internally.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that I've sold either through Facebook Marketplace, or even like we have there's 2,600 homes in our neighborhood. So like I post on a group, and all of a sudden people are showing up there. So it's while it's super annoying, it's like I'm already packing up stuff anyway, so it's not that hard to go through. Now I try to have everything go through the prep center, but again, it takes a lot of planning and a lot of money up front to spend that amount and then wait and then hope that, especially if it's like toys or something, that now it's being sent somewhere else completely and you can't hold like half the stock or anything back, and that kind of stuff. So it certainly got to be careful on what you're doing, and like you said, how much you're buying and how much percentage of what you're buying is going into those types of listings.
Yeah, we can talk about percentages too. I know that Jeff offline you had mentioned, I think it was 10%. There was a number you had kind of mentioned as far as how you spread your capital across brands or categories to reduce this risk.
Yeah, then that's what I was going to dive into here a little bit about how else you can sort of stay a little diversified to minimize your risk. And one of the thing that we do is we really try to keep our brands less than, like any single brand, less than 5% of our business. There was a time, 2020, 2021, where I was, 85% Nike. And, Nike, I got a brand review. It all went, restricted, 7 figures of Nike products, all, stranded, locked out, restricted, hard gated because I'm, failing my brand review or whatever. So it really made me shift the way I looked at things and said, hey, look, I really need to diversify, how we, attack Amazon and trying to minimize the brands. And that's, it's become even more, I think, important nowadays, because it's like, it seems like every other, month there's another brand that Amazon has taken an exclusive with and is either locking out the whole brand like they did with Coach, Michael Kors, and Kate Spade, over the past couple of years, or what they've done with Nike and Adidas, which is not a full lockdown, but they've taken parts of the catalog and brought in-house and have, hard gated those ASINs. Other people are just getting kicked off of Nike as well. So it's just more and more, critical that you have some diversification, to your business. Now, again, from my standpoint, risk mitigation, right? You want to minimize your risk, try to, add other brands. Now, again, I run a very large business. It's easier for me to keep that at 5%. Other people, maybe you're just trying to keep no brand under 25%. But you also have the other aspect of, I'm really good at sourcing this brand. I can kill this brand. And I think I can, sell 7 figures of this brand just in Q4 alone. Do I want to shift my focus from that? And those are decisions that you should make, understanding those risks. Also understanding, maybe your tolerance level of risk in general. I got a family, I got kids. I'm not looking to have my whole business go under, so I take a little more, risk adverse approach. If I'm in my 20s, with low expenses and not a lot of money, hey, maybe I'm okay, carrying 80%. But the goal of this is at least present ways that you can, mitigate your risks, and at least make sure that you're understanding those and making decisions versus just blindly sinking all your money into a brand that next, it's going to be restricted, on November 15th, and you're out of, you're filing bankrupt or whatever. So it's just something you need to decide. So for us, again, we try to, one, not really try to minimize being over 5% in any single brand, even just from a sourcing perspective, trying not to rely on a single source as well. I don't want to be 100%, we'll say Lego.com, which obviously is very difficult since you can't get that much volume there. But again, just, I like to be diversified. And then for me, it's also not just being, brand store to a level, an ASIN level, but then sourcing diversification is something that, I think helps us. Again, when you're just a one-man shop, one-woman shop just starting, you may not have the ability to do OARA, wholesale, private label. But for us, we're well diversified across wholesale, across OA, across RA, and it helps when, hey, my OA team's running into some issues, boom, RA picks up. Having wholesale. It also may help a little bit when people are trying to stock your store and, hey, where'd you get that? Well, who knows? Maybe you got it RA, maybe you got it OA. Whereas if you're just 100%, just do nothing but Lego and from Lego.com, hey, you can figure that. People can figure it out a little bit. So
yeah, I mean, or if you even get as simple as you get banned from a store, like, so if all of a sudden you're buying a ton of stuff from Walgreens and then Walgreens kicks your account, then you're
yeah. I mean, in 2020, I was I think 85-90% Nike, and we got it from Rack Room and Off Broadway, which was owned by Rack Room, and then they merged and got rid of Off Broadway shoes or whatever they used to call themselves. But it was great. Made boatloads of money, and happy I hammered it when I could. But at some point, I mean, that was sort of a unique situation with COVID, in 2021 that an opportunity existed and we hammered it. But going forward, especially when they started to, when I got the brand review, and then shortly after that, Rack Room, you started to change, become much less bulk friendly, and more competition came on it. Certain gurus really started to push Nike in and around that same time, and a lot of extra competition came. And again, the good thing was at that time I was starting to diversify, so that we moved away from Nike. We still sell Nike, but not at that level. So it's just something that I highly recommend, especially if you're trying to mitigate the risk, and especially in Q4. And it just helps you expand and, to a point, scale, right? If you're just stuck on one store hammering it, you can still scale to a point, but it also, as I said, you run into issue and you're back at square one. Whereas if you start adding stores, adding categories, adding sourcing methods, it helps you grow the business, and it helps mitigate the risk. So, and for us too, it's sort of, identifying what we consider safe brands. Now, nothing's safe, right? Like, I might have said Nike was a safe brand, for, 18 months ago, right? But like, there's certain brands that I've probably sold for 10 years, and there's other brands I've never sold before, and I'm not so sure. So when I purchase, I'm buying less. I'm testing that brand. Do they send me a threatening letter? Do I get an IP? If I find a great lead and I'm not familiar with the brand, I'm not buying 500 units. I'm buying 10. Maybe I'm listing an FBM. You're just seeing what happens before I go all in on a, on a lead, that I've not tested the brand, because sometimes it looks too good to be true, and there's probably a reason. So, but.
Well, and like, circling back to the UPC thing, like, there's so many tools now that weren't around a few years ago and now that the UPCs are getting cleaned up, that if it is matching, it's like, not that you're safe, and not that you're safe with any brand or any UPC, and they can cancel anything, even if it's a very well set up listing. But again, there's a lot of things that you can minimize your risk by having things match properly and going through and again, diversifying through that, but also selling on stuff that is at least the listing is set up correctly.
Yeah. Do we want to grab some questions here before?
Yeah, I was gonna say we're just
the other side.
Everybody, just make sure you keep asking the questions. We will circle back. We'll probably get to all of them. But if we skipped over you, we apologize. But we'll cut back through.
I refuse FBM. I hope I don't regret it. So Luke, I was the same way for 7-8 years. I finally gave in, I think 2 years ago, where it was just, the check-in times were horrible. And, there's just, from my perspective, there's just so much money to be made, in that. Again, right now, again, you can still make money, right? So once you get to Black Friday, you need to make a decision. Are you sourcing for Q1? If you're doing FBA, you are, right? You're sourcing for Q1. If you're doing FBM, then you're sourcing for December. So, and then based on that, you can source differently, because if you're sourcing for December with FBM, you're looking or can look for those temporary price increases. But if you're sourcing for FBA, you're buying stuff that you're getting heavily discounted that you can sell at what Amazon typically sells it at, not what it might be selling at now, but what you believe you can continue to sell it in Q1. And there's a lot of money, and we do both. I mean, we do more FBA than FBM because it's from a scalability perspective from us, we just can't do that much FBM. Like, and when I say that, we move 1,000 units a day, FBM, but we move 5,000 units a day, FBA. So like we can't do 6,000 units FBM. It's it's too much. So so we make those decisions of, hey, we're buying this for Q1. This is a great deal. We think it's going to sell. Let's buy this for Q1. On Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and in December. And in other items, that's a quick flip. Let's buy that. Let's FBM it. So I get it. There's a lot of reasons too that I hate FBM, but I have given in.
Yeah, I mean, it helps too when you have a team. I also hated FBM, but now I have a staff that does so I hate it a bit less.
I did the same too, and I think like Deke kept telling me I had to go do it, and then there was another Abe that was in here too that kept saying how much she was making off of it, and it's super annoying, but you do make money on it. Parth, so you're asking about is it safe to sell really anything that says generic on it? There's probably a reason why they try to get around it and hasn't been caught on it. There's a very slim number of stuff that generic actually technically applies, but with the books, it's probably something where they were trying to get around a brand restriction. Now you can lock up a UPC with anything. That this happened with some of the popular, the drink cup, like the Yetis and different things like that, where there's a color coming out and someone took the UPC from something else and slapped it on it, and then that UPC is stuck with that listing, even though it's the wrong one. It's stuck on a thing. So people can do that where they can stick on a UPC that's completely something different. Or in this case, like you said, the ISBN UPC are identical to the physical copies, where that's right, but they somehow still have the wrong brand in there and they can get in trouble with it. Textbooks are one of those things that's, the big one. And there's a few other brands that really started restricting a lot where you had to order a lot from. So I don't know if you guys have anything.
Books, and you may have said this, and I apologize. I mean, books is, and this is what I've always preached, and maybe it's changed. I don't think it has. The only category I won't sell new when doing arbitrage. Only distributor level or direct from the publisher. Amazon started in books, and I think that it's still a soft spot for them. It's for whatever reason still the category they'll actually go after you if you sell it new, even if
unless it's from the distributor. Receipts. Yeah, it has to be from the distributor, still in the cellophane to be technically considered new.
Yeah, so I know a lot of folks sell Ollie's books new, and again, it's one of those things that we talked about here. You can do, I hate to say it out loud, but you can kind of do a lot on Amazon. But again, our jobs generally over the last many years talking to you all online has been to just make sure you understand the risk you're actually taking, and there is a risk you are taking if you're selling books new from Ollie's or other places, because it's again the only category where technically that is not something that is kosher. That was a good question I saw. Yeah, that one. Okay, cool. Same question I was just looking for.
I was going to say there's people who just get warehouses just for Q4, and they do that whether they're trying to store stuff and move things, or they're getting a storage locker, or they're prepping things out of it, or whatever they want to do. So if you're planning on getting a warehouse that you want to keep longer than Q4, I think it's fine. But if you're trying to order a lot and specifically have that to sell in Q4, and you're not doing the FBM on it, it's something where you do start to run the risk if you can't get that stuff prepped and sent out quick enough. But if you're doing a lot of FBM, it's certainly a great idea. Or if you're trying to hold some stuff for a bit and then and send it in later.
Yeah,
what were you going to say?
I think storage. No, I 100% agree with you. I think storage units are probably 99% of people watching this who say I need more space. The storage unit's going to be your solution to that. Especially if it is, as you think, a Q4 problem. And depending where you live, they are so cheap. I know, I don't think Chad's in here, but one of our staff members and kind of part owners of the TheBuyBox, he just recently got a storage unit for another business, and it was like $200 for a 10 by 20. It was so affordable. And it really is just going to depend on what state you live in. I know in Jersey here, they're expensive. At one point we had 4, and I think our most expensive was like $375. And it got to the point where like a warehouse it just kind of made sense financially. To Joe's point, a warehouse is great, but is a longer term vision. You can get they call like a shared warehouse or a shared space. Warespace is one of them. There's a bunch of other ones around the country where they're just like a huge warehouse that someone has created smaller units in. The upside of those is that you only have to sign a lease for a year. And breaking the lease is actually pretty cheap. You just lose your deposit. So those are probably the most affordable ways of doing short-term leases.
And some of them will accept your deliveries too. So if you're not physically
Oh,
there,
so I'm actually running out of a warehouse space still. We have 4 units in a warehouse space. And before we move into our new spot in March, and we had 8 pallets delivered today, and I was not there, and none of my staff were there, and the building manager, she received them, and I think like that's such a perk. Like I'm like and it's free pickups. Like I don't have to worry about the carriers like scheduling those pickups. They come every day. So big value.
I will say with the storage units that if you're doing it and you're going to be prepping out of it, you might want to consider doing the climate controlled ones because cold tape doesn't stick, and there's some other things that are negative with that.
And look for electric.
Yeah,
some storage units though, they will let you drop off packages in the lobby, and then have the carrier pick them up. So that is a perk of some of those, and some of them will actually take deliveries for you as well. I've seen.
Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say talk to the managers when you get there, and you try to find one that's either close to their free Wi-Fi hub, and then get one that's close to an electrical outlet that you can run something to, and just tell them that you're not living out of it. You're just doing a couple things to send some shipments out, and I'm sure they'll be fine with it. Most of them. Cool. What else do we miss here? Seller amp misbrands. We got the, let's see.
UPC. Absolutely did have some follow-ups. 2-year lease worth the risk. That's kind of again up to you and where you are in your business. I've been a year-to-year lease for 3 years, and then our next lease is a 3-year lease. So I went from 1-year lease times 3 to now a 3-year lease. Leases, it really also depends on the lease agreement. Some leases you break them and you walk away, but you don't get your deposit back. Other leases, they'll go after you until you can sublease and you find someone to move into the space. So it's really dependent on your situation and your needs.
The FBM prep center prices are all across the board. I've seen them for $1. I've seen them for, like you're saying, $2.50. The
250 seems to be like pretty
standard
average.
Yeah. And again, the thing is, you just got to try to make sure that you're selling stuff that allows for that kind of margin. Now, as far as the FBM friendly thing, Jeff's talked about this a lot. Like if you're in what do you call it, Montana, and if your prep center's in Montana and you're FBMing, you are not going to sell as much through them as you are if you have your prep center that's selling it through Delaware or somewhere on the East Coast. The majority of the country lives on the East Coast, so if you're trying to sell something through some place in the middle of the country, it probably is not going to sell as well because there is a location factor that goes into the selling on that. So that could be something that happened on there. But yeah,
template thing. Yeah, the shipping template could certainly be a factor. And Tony, if it's the same Tony I'm thinking of, Tony, I think you are in our group already in the TheBuyBox. I think at least you used to be. We're going to do a call about FBM. 100%. We'll do a call about optimizing for FBM sometime over the next 6 to 8 weeks, and we can look at an optimized shipping template and kind of go through some examples of that because that is huge. Getting the right template down, depending on what you're selling and where you're selling from, especially as we get into December, and you can start charging more money for shipping, and you can start making some adjustments to that to even squeeze more profit out of FBM.
Same thing with how fast you have it set up for, if you're having them, Amazon set the shipping times, or if you're setting it something different. There's a lot of settings that you can do to tweak it to make it work better.
Yeah, and I've seen a few times, and I don't know why it happens, but I list something FBM and then don't get sales. I go back and check the listing. I'm pretty sure it's on Seller Central. It says not eligible for buy box. No idea why. Ship it FBA. It sells. then I check back later. It's eligible for buy box. So I've seen that happen a couple times with FBM in general.
Yeah.
It's sort of like even with FBA, right? Like you can match buy box with FBA, and sometimes you just don't get buy box, and you have to push the price down a little bit to get buy box, or sometimes it just takes time. And FBM is even, similar, right? Like lots of times if there's somebody at FBA sitting at $30, what's the price to get you buy box with FBM? It's probably not $30. In some cases it will, but it might be $28. It might be $27. Depending on your reprice. Or Tony, I think you're a Snower Sap guy, but it can be a good way. I don't know what setting you are, but what I like to do anytime I'm not getting any sales, if you have a repricer, one of the reasons I love Seller Snap is because I'll set that repricer, get me buy box 10%, get buy box 5%, whatever. Use, tell the repricer to get you a buy box, a small percentage so it doesn't tank the price, but then you can figure out what price you need to be at. You can, then go from there. Then you can switch it to a less aggressive, repricing setting maybe, but you need to, know where that sweet spot is.
Sean, you asked a question just real quick on the shipping times, what we had, just kind of circling back to that. And then you have followed up asking like 0 day. You all have to be careful with the 0 day, because when you click that, it turns off the on time, what do they call it? The insurance that basically Amazon has for you that says that, hey, you're not going to get dinged for this if they're making the setting for it. So you want to set it. Look at the OTCR, is that what it is, or OT, or whatever it is.
Like SSA and all of those.
Yeah,
and
just double check and make sure that those settings, when you click those links, that you have that all connected. Because even if you have 0 day, which you can't get faster than 0 day, I've had stuff that got there even early, but still got listed as being late because whatever Amazon wanted it before 6 p.m. or something crazy that happened. I got dinged for it. So it's like it's hard to make sure that you're protected even if something else goes wrong with it. So just make sure that if you do have that, now 0 day can get it listed and showing quicker in there in some cases, and you might get the sale more.
I switched to a 0 day over the weekends. If I'm being nervous at all, Saturday, Sunday, 0 day. I don't really think I don't know if it makes any difference, but it still gives you till Monday to ship it. And it adds like that. It reduces 1 day that the customer sees, I believe. But Amazon's currently going through an FBM glitch anyway, which I tweeted about, which is killing my late shipment rate anyway right now. But so I had to switch to 1 day. I usually do 0 day. As long as you kind of fix your pickup times, which are in the settings for shipping, that allows you to kind of fiddle with it. And most of the time, even on 0 day, if someone orders on a Monday, it'll allow me to ship it Tuesday. And I do get that on-time delivery protection. I'm not a fan of SSA. I'm not a fan of any of the Amazon optimized stuff. I find it like kills my buy box share personally. But again, all of that is worth kind of fiddling with. I saw some questions. So yeah, I mean, obviously we'll talk more about this on a future call. We will 100% do a Seller Snap strat call or like repricing call. I think our repricing call we actually have on the books already.
Yeah, it was one of the
in 2 weeks. Yeah. So not next week, the week after. So the first week of October, we're going to do a repricing call. And then I think we do have a discount already for Seller Snap, but if we don't, I'm sure Jeff does. Or can get one.
Yeah, we have an extended trial and longer stuff with it, and some additional percentage off. So whichever one's better, use.
Yeah, and we'll definitely dive into as I said, we'll do a whole webinar on repricing and some of the different things to do in Q4. And
I think we have a call with them tomorrow too. So it's something where we can talk to them about the group and see what we can figure out there as well.
Yeah, and then we'll do we may have a separate, if there's enough demand, we'll do a Seller Snap sort of exclusive one as well.
The user that's up on the screen app. So you had a bunch of questions. So like, if you're doing FBM and it's in a warehouse, if you're not there, someone has to be there because it doesn't automatically go out. So yeah, you want to make sure that you have something in check to make sure that the package goes out and can go out quickly, because a lot of times you're going to have to send it out that day or next day. The 2-year lease worth the risk? I mean, a lot of them they can be 5 years. I mean, so a 2-year lease.
The 2 year sounds good. I'm in 5 years. So.
The other thing it does too is it locks in the price.
Yeah,
so
no, it can be good too, depending on.
So if you get a good deal on it and you do a 2-year one, that can be an excellent move.
The problem is the growth. I've always had a problem with 5-year leases because I'm gonna outgrow it in 3 years. Then you're gonna get stuck. If growth is the goal,
buy a bigger place, sell mattresses out of it.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the problem. Is like you do run into an issue when you're growing because you end up having to buy more space for the first year than you need.
Yeah. And then you got to heat that and cool that and do all the things that you need in the spaces.
We don't all use seller snap. It is certainly the number one, probably that most of the big sellers use. I would say if you're doing anywhere in like the low to mid 7 figures, most folks use seller snap. I will say it hands down some of the best customer experience of any repricer. Certainly.
All right.
Splitting SKUs, yeah. I mean, I'll do a combination of them, hold some back, send some in, so that way I get some going. Especially if I've never sold it before. I don't know if it's just in my head, but like if I grease the wheels, I feel like with selling some stuff FBM, I feel like the FBA sells better, but I might just all be in my head on that. I don't know, but it seems like I actually sell stuff when it gets checked in right away for that. Thank you, OTDR. That's it, on-time delivery rate. Y'all are helping me while I wasn't looking at the screen there.
What's the alternative to seller snap? I mean, there's a bunch out there. There's some pretty great tier lists. Aura obviously is one that comes to mind. Seller 365 has their version through Tactical Arbitrage and all those folks. And then there's like the Be Cools of the world. I personally, I see most folks use Aura or the 365 one as the alternative to seller snap. Those are like the top 3 that I hear. There are others that are very good.
If you have time to set it up, Channel Max is good.
Yeah, I would say Channel Max.
Not very intuitive.
Channel Max blows Aura out of the. I mean, Aura is just not a very good repricer if you know how to use repricers. It just isn't. But Channel Max is a real pain to set up. But it's
gotten better.
It's like blows it out of the water. Like it's not even close. And Aura's price elevates pretty quickly. That really doesn't make sense. I mean, Aura's probably a little better than Be Cool, but beyond that, like the AI on that and the limited features. I mean, the features are just so limited with Aura. Like I would really look elsewhere if I was using that software.
For what it is, it's simple, and it's better than not having something as far as if you want to move stuff, but it does seem like it tanks things quickly to move stuff unless you have 1,000 units in stock. It never seems to like come back up on the pricing with it. So it can work and it can be okay, and it's nice to have some stuff automated, but it's certainly not as I don't want to say it, like everyone tosses around AI with it, but it's a lot of coding that's inside of it. But seller snap does a lot of things that those other ones do not.
I mean, the big thing with Aura that, and if they change it, certainly somebody use it, let me know. But like, with AI, it's going to try to get you the price. One, I've heard a lot of people say Aura is, I think somebody just said it, very passive or whatever. But that in general, and with seller snap, and there's 2 things that I like about seller snap that I believe Aura doesn't have. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. One, the AI, you can set your buy box guards. I feel like Aura, I believe, doesn't have it, but you can set it how aggressive you want it to get. If you don't put your buy box guards in, it's going to keep going until you get the price. But it gives you the ability to make that decision. And then if you're not getting buy box based on your buy box guards and based the way you set it up, or you need to get a little more, you just say, what buy box percentage do you want? Do you want 10%? Do you want 20%? Do you want 50%? And you just tell seller snap to get that percentage, and it's going to do it. And that's the big feature that I love, because it's like, okay, I'm not getting buy box sitting at this price, with the basic, the standard AI, because I need to go lower than the buy box guard. So I tell it to get 10%. we tank the price a little bit, but I get 10% of the buy box. I find out where I need to be to price, because it's not just price. It's not lowest price that's going to get me, like, matching lowest price does not get you buy box anymore. Like, and I don't dive too much into this because this is, you're really diving into Q4 repricing and pricing, but like, you need to understand that in some cases you can be significantly higher and get buy box. Sometimes you need to be lower. It just is what it is. Understanding that, and then having a tool that can maximize your ups and maximize minimizing the lows, and Aura just can't do it. It just another functionality.
Yeah. So to plug that,
Joe, we'll get into that, the questions with all the seller snap and those kind of things and future calls there, because the questions that it's going to generate answering some of this is going to just take another hour to go through it all. So for the sake of
in 2 weeks, again, I think that is the scheduled call in 2 weeks. And we are an hour and we can go a bit longer here, but just to talk about what is coming up over the next 15 weeks. We don't have the full schedule presented to you today. As mentioned earlier in the call, this call is live, right? It's public. It's on Twitter. It's on YouTube. It's available. We want to answer your questions. We want to talk about some things that we're doing, and particularly Jeff, right? Jeff does $25 million a year on Amazon. It's important to understand what's going on in his mind so we can kind of take pieces of that for our business and how he's reducing his risk. But for the next 14 calls moving forward, we have scaling smarter, we have repricing, we have seasonal buying, and how to like really plan for Black Friday and Cyber Monday and hit those hard, or as Jeff says, hammer them. All future of those 14 calls, we are going to be live, but we are going to be live within the group called TheBuyBox. That is a group that we've run for 6 years. Jeff and Joe are gracious enough to join us this year for this Q4 for the next 15 weeks in that group. So you get them plus everything else that we have to offer, which is Flip Alert, which you may have heard of, all of our one-on-one mentorships, all of our community stuff, all of our other group calls, all of our guides and everything else. I did throw a link out there for it. That link is a Jeff and Joe link. So, that's how, I mean, this is a weird, but like, that's how they're getting paid, right? Like, I want to make sure that people click on that and join through their link and they get some of that return, because, they're, doing this because they align so much with what we do here. And that's really just continuing to educate and providing the right information to the right people. But at the same time, they run businesses, they have families. And so trying to keep it as kind of specific as we can, give them time to have these direct calls without getting overloaded. And then we also have a chat in that group. So not only is the group already full of chatter, but there's a separate chat for Jeff and Joe. So if you have these questions kind of in between and Jeff has some time during his day, he'll jump in there and he'll talk to you and he'll answer, and so will Joe, and so will I, and so will the other 10 staff members that you've probably heard of and seen all over Twitter that all do 7+ figures a year. So it's a really great place. Unlike most groups for Q4, it's not going to kill you on budget. A lot of Q4 groups are $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. We're about $150 a month. And then for Q4, we have a deal. It's $380 for 3 months. So we do that because it's not really about making money. It's about giving you all what we can. And so we just kind of keep pumping that back into partnerships and back into software. And again, Flip Alert alone is $100 a month that we have a lot of users pay for, and you get that included. So there is a link that we threw in there. I can put it in there again. It is listed. If you're on Twitter, you won't see the link. So if you're watching this on Twitter, you can head to my bio, and there's the TheBuyBox has its own thing. And I can also kind of throw it in a comment. Actually, it's probably the smartest thing to do. I just threw it as a comment, as a reply on that live feed. So if you just scroll down, you'll see it.
And we'll send out some emails as well. So if you see them, just click on them. Let us know we're getting in there. We're not going to hard push everything for it, because again, this is all about. Last year, Jeff and I did a group. It was over $2,000 for the Q4 group. It was a lot of leads. We had Flip Alert in there. Went through it. It was a great group. But on this year, our focus is teaching you how to fish. I mean, we want to make sure that you know how to find the leads, that you know how to qualify the leads, that you know how to run a successful business. Whether it's this or moving into other things. Jeff does a lot of other businesses as well that I'm sure at some point you can chat with him about inside the group. So there's a lot of it where we actually want to be try to give back as much as we can to the community, and provide you the best education that we can.
Yeah, and I'll do some live sourcing, and we may have some leads in there, but again, it's going to be more of the education.
Yeah,
but we also have some other
the
suppliers.
leads. I mean,
for
the
the
leads will
future.
funnel through Footballer. I mean, to be honest, I
Yeah.
mean, we do. For those that don't know Footballer, it's it's an A2A tool. If you don't know me, I do a ton of A2A have for the last 8 years, and particularly the last 6 of those 8 years, and spent millions of dollars just on A2A. And so we built Footballer specifically for A2A. That was the original purpose of Footballer. We find about 1 million leads a month that are profitable. Obviously they're not going to be all buys. Some of them need some private label and things like that, but there's plenty of opportunity to purchase. Our users spend about $1 million a month on inventory just through those leads alone. And then we've added a bunch of stuff since then. So we also do some Amazon to Walmart. We're launching Amazon to eBay. We're launching a little bit of eBay to Amazon for used products. And then we have retailers coming as well. We're going to match and look for, Home Depots and Lowe's and all the other stuff that goes into it. So there's a lot going on over there. We do have training videos that you can watch for intros. And then we actually just hired, really excited, we hired a staff member to come in and offer intro calls one-on-one if you join, you can kind of walk through as well. So, but again, included. So if you join the buy box and you want to get into Footballer, amazing, it's there. If you don't want it, that's fine too. Like the goal is, hey, like we're going to give you as much value. Like we're going to give you your money's worth regardless if you use it or not. But if you use it, like it's hard not to make your money back in a day. It's usually like what we try to, it's a 24-hour period. If you set it up right, you'll start seeing enough leads that'll make sense for you. But I won't push you too hard. It is,
I mean,
it's a labor of love.
The group alone has one-on-one calls that are able to be offered each month. I've paid more for one call with somebody than the entire 3-month subscription to this would cost. So it's very much worth it if you use it right and you go through and you pay attention. For every level of person, whether you're just starting or you've been selling for a long time, there's just so much information in the group and so many people in there that are beyond helpful. It's an amazing group.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, we've been around 6 years, so hopefully we'll be around a lot longer. So we got into quite a bit of the stuff that we had planned. And then you get, we didn't even mention Brick Dynasty, but that's if you like Lego, if you like Jeff and you love Lego, we have a whole Lego section called Brick Dynasty, which is an amazing group in itself. That also is full access if you join. I'm trying to look through our list to kind of see. I feel like we did kind of hit everything we had talked about. Given obviously the time we have, of course, there might be some more questions filling in that we can.
So I mean,
about.
well, the leads list. You want to explain that, Saul?
Yeah, I mean, we don't. Part of, at least if you're talking about for the buy box, our goal, our core function, and our model and our mission is support above all else. So everything we do is funneling into supporting U.S. sellers and kind of bridging the gap between the confusion of what Amazon and Walmart are doing and allowing you to take advantage of understanding in like how it actually works and getting that real life feedback from sellers who are doing it every day. We don't consider ourselves a leads group. We have a rotating leads list that is raffled off that you can get access to, but the bulk of the leads are going to be Footballer if that's what you're interested in. But otherwise, it's really just about community support, guides, mentorship, and of course stuff like this. We're going to have literally a call a week with Jeff and Joe or one of them to talk. Like if you take advantage of one of those calls and kind of listen and take what you've learned and apply it to your business, there's no reason that you can't make back a couple $100 that you may have spent on joining at the time. But you can also, if you don't want to do 3 months, you can do month to month, can cancel after 1 month, and that's okay. We won't hold you to it. We're just here to help you however we can. And then, as Joe said, the one-on-ones. There are people that you've probably seen on Twitter. Some people in this group now that are chatting that are on our staff team that you can literally schedule up to 2 hours a month, one-on-one with someone doing $2 million a year who will just live source with you, who will just sit there and tell you all about how they hired their first employee, who will walk you through a warehouse, who will reprice with you, who will look at your FBM shipping templates, all included. So,
and again, to touch on the leads list thing, I mean, it's tough in large groups to give out a leads list because you're going to cherry pick them and they're going to get bought out and they're going to either tank stuff and it's not good for anybody. When you do things with A to A, what's nice about it is you buy out Amazon and the price recovers back up and then you make money on those things. So it's something where those leads that go out and not everybody gets the same things. You can set up your settings however you want. But but you will get some of the same, but that's okay, because when you buy them, you buy out Amazon, the price recovers, and then you can send that stuff back in. So you can do pretty well with it. So that's why that's not the same thing as the leads list, because leads lists are just the more people that buy it, the worse it's going to be for you if you're all sending it in at the same time trying to sell it, and then you're going to be competing against each other.
Yeah, not something we actively do at this time. We're going to teach you how to fish, though, for sure.
Yeah. And there is, I mean, I think you had Storefront Stalker Pro is also in there. Where
you guys don't. And literally, the list is too long for me to tell you everything that you get, and we just keep adding more. We actually next week we're going to announce a new acquisition that we made. We literally bought a company, and you are going to get full access to all of their tech included as well. So the goal is just to keep adding value and not increase price. That's been our mantra for a long time, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're going to continue to do.
Yep. So I want to reiterate that this is a free call. The next calls are going to be one that you're going to have to be signed up for. The earlier you get signed up, the more different emails, different things you get, and then all the notifications that go out through the BuyBox, and then get acclimated with the BuyBox, get acclimated with Flip Alert, get that stuff all set up so that you are ready to buy and ready to get your stuff in for Q4, since we're heading into that in a week here. So the link is there. We'll send that out through another email, and we've sent it out in some other emails previously to most of you, and dropped it in other places. So please click it. It's not a huge investment. But if it is something where that number is scaring you, then, that's probably something where you don't need to do that. It's
we will never pressure you.
Your money.
Yeah, the whole purpose and the whole goal of the pricing is because we're not going to pressure you into spending money you don't have. I do not want you to go into debt or leverage to pay us to help you make money. Right. That seems silly. If you have $400 to your name for Amazon, use that money for inventory, use that money to learn, watch YouTube videos. This is, I don't want you to spend your last $150 on us. So that's, definitely not the case. But a lot of you have been selling for a while, or you want to do this and you want to treat it like a business. Yeah. And for that reason, like, hey, let's do this. Let's hit it. The goal is to be an alternative to a $5,000 group, give you the same value for a fraction of the price.
Well, better
I can
value.
tell you next week. Yes, for some better value. I've not done all high level courses, so I'm sure there are some amazing ones out there. Next week we have it scheduled. We could switch this around, but next week we have it currently slated for scaling smarter, not harder. That's a fun little rhyme. And really, I'm actually super looking forward to that one. I don't know how in the weeds we're going to get, but, Jeff has done some live challenges on Twitter over the last year where he'll spend more in OA in a day than I'll spend in 3 months.
While coaching soccer. And
and so, and people, look at big teams like Jeff's are like, oh, you have buyers. I'm like, yeah, Jeff has buyers, but he can also sit down and knock out 600,000 and spend in a month if he needs to. And I think Jeff has said he's usually the number one spender on the team, especially during that
in Q4. Period, I'm lazy much of the rest of the year, but
you've allowed yourself to be, like, you've designed your life to be that way, right? So I'm super curious to learn, how to push harder. I know we're going to talk also about leverage at some point. So people who do need capital or are looking to get capital going into October, November, December, or even into next year, things that you can carry through, that's super important because, like for me, I have a lot of debt. I'm carrying a lot of debt for my business because I'm super stocked up on product for Q4. And hey, like, I wouldn't mind a little bit more opportunity to spend more and learn how to get more leverage or to get more credit if my business allows for it. Again, I'm not going to push anyone to get leverage if you can't afford to, or if you're not in a situation to. But as Jeff said, like, kind of figure out if it makes sense.
Yeah. And with the scaling too, like in general, we'll talk a little bit about hiring, because in Q4 is a good time to, consider adding some people, even if you're a one or two person shop, you may, if you're going to hire a sourcer, or you're going to hire, one of the best things I think you can hire in Q4 is, a store pickup person, / RA person. We like to build, lists, and then, have people, you can do the store pickups, and at the same time, hey, while you're at the store, go see if you can find any of this other stuff. So
The call's not
makes
always going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern.
No.
It's more likely going to be earlier in the day.
Early afternoon. I imagine closer to like 1 to 2 p.m. Probably leaning towards Thursdays, I think. But the beauty is they'll all be recorded and they'll all be posted, so you can go back and you can review. And then also, Jeff and Joe will be in the group, plus all of our other staff and me. So
Yeah.
during the week, if there is questions that we didn't get to, or you want to like watch the recording and then come back and ask questions, we can answer them throughout.
Yeah, there's lots of calls that happen in that group. I mean, I see it all the time. Like, hey, I'm about to start live sourcing on some stuff.
Tonight was supposed to be tonight at 7 was live sourcing, which we postponed for this, and then right now actually is a Brick Dynasty call that's happening. So there's a number of calls we kind of rotate through depending on the needs of everyone. And I think tomorrow we have a call where we're interviewing a Walmart tech founder, like for his software. So always something that we're trying to put on.
And then let's see, inventory performance metrics. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that we can talk about in the different groups or in the different calls that we do. And if you have specific questions, you can ask them. We have our group too, the FBA Base Camp, that you can ask stuff on, and that Discord as well. But yeah, I mean, we do get into a little bit of everything to talk about, all the things that we do that we think are important to sell product.
I'm looking at Deck here. Deck is something Jeff leads. I feel like that's like donating, $5 to like that $1 million Twitch streamer. I mean, listen, you want to send me a lead,
Jeff, how much you pay for pickups? It's an employee.
Yeah, I mean, usually I have a team of RA, folks. So usually I link them up with them of doing the pickups. I also have local buyers that buy stuff, so they get their comp. I think usually we pay like 2.5% of purchase price, and they sometimes will do the the store pickups as well.
Unnecessary, but thanks. I just a month, so I have 2 staff at the warehouse, and I'm turning 1 into my RA person, my RA shopper. It also depends where you live. I mean, Jeff and I live in an area that's ripe for RA. Some people are just not in a situation that allows for it. So,
I mean, there's plenty of people that hire their friends or hire somebody that's in a neighborhood that's looking for some extra stuff during the day. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it. And if you don't know somebody, I'm sure getting on like.
I mean, if you have family out of state, that's also like if you have your parents live somewhere, or your brother and sister live somewhere, or cousins, and you find some great product at your Walmart, we have it's called Tempo, right? And a lot of groups have it, but we get it with us as well. And you can throw that UPC in or that SKU into the buy box, and we'll tell you if it's located at a place near where they live. Just call them and be like, hey, can you go drive to the Walmart that's 5 miles away and go buy this for me? That's an easy way of getting some great clearance that you've already found, and they're going with a hit list without having to hire a full shopper.
Cool.
Are we out?
All right, does anyone else have any questions while we're
last call on questions?
All right. If you forgot something, want to ask it, like I said, we're going to repost this. Does the 3 month?
It doesn't have a 3-day built in. I don't think. That's just the way it was designed when we put it up. That being said, I'll be very upfront with y'all. If you join the 380 and a day later you message me like, Saul, this is crap. I can't believe you're talking about this online. This is the worst thing I've ever done. I will refund you your money. So if you want to jump in at 380 and you pay the 380, and a day later you want to message me about it, we'll give you your money back. It's no problem. I hope that you don't. I hope that we've done everything possible to help you see the value, but I won't judge you if you do. So it's not just built in, but yeah, we can. I won't.
So if you join and stay for the whole Q4 and don't find you got $380 worth, I'll refund you.
Yeah, same. I'll throw in on it too.
I'm not worried. You'll get value. I guess one thing. I guess a question for you, Saul, but all for the group.
Yeah.
When should we expect to create the dedicated chat for this Q4?
Well, yeah, this week. Yeah, I think today was kind of what I expected, kind of the launch first day. and
Sounds good.
we'll get that up right now, probably tomorrow.
Yep.
Tony asked the question, when are the next calls we join the group? So each call is going to be a week. I think we haven't landed. I think it's going to be Thursday afternoons, TBD. But so the next one would be next Thursday, and then likely every Thursday after that. We're going to try to be very consistent, so you can plan around it if it allows your schedule to do so. Again, I expect 1 or 2 p.m. somewhere in there EST.
Yeah. And again, there's other calls that happen in that group.
Yes.
So it's not, that's just this call. There's tons of calls that happen there. There's lots of content to go back and watch and listen to and do all.
And if you want to, and you're going to go, you can schedule calls with the one-on-one. So if you want to go talk to, Jamie's been popping in here. Jamie Huff, like he does one-on-one calls. Jamie flies across the country and buys $30,000 worth of RA. You just put in a 5-figure PO today for wholesale. We have Joey for Walmart. We have Chad for Walmart and Amazon and A2A. We have Dre, who all he does is wholesale. He goes to like 6 or 7 different conventions every year and walks the floor and makes deals. Wow. Whatever it is that you do, we can hook you up with the right person on the team to talk to as well outside of the scheduled calls. So I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, the next one is probably next Thursday. That would be currently again scheduled for the scaling one. We'll see if that's what sticks, but we have the next.
And if you all have
talked about
questions too, if we get enough suggestions for something and we have something planned, we can pivot to and talk about something different. We're fitted in. We have 15 weeks of ideas to talk about, but if it's not something that fits your needs and we get enough requests for it, we can talk about it. We'll also be in that group the whole time, as long along with everybody else answering questions. So please ask questions. We would love to answer them.
Yeah, I mean, what I would expect to is we'll ask in the private Q4 channel within the Discord for topics. We'll throw up polls, see what votes, and then try to cover topics that people are most interested in. We have some already outlined that we plan to hit. Again, we know people are going to want to hear repricing, but look for feedback. And other times we'll pivot. Last year, we did. What did we have? We had a few people get hit with some lawyer letters, so we did a quick call on how to deal with lawyer letters.
Yep, so and a big one's going to be returns. Like returns are going to be a big thing that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about expanding onto multiple platforms and what to do with your products as you want to diversify, or that you do get hit with something where you got to pivot. There's a lot of topics that we're going to cover.
Yeah, and we're definitely. I'm bringing in an eBay guy, probably in the next month or so, who does I think like 30,000-40,000 a month on eBay. So not the biggest eBay seller, but not a small one either. And so we're going to learn about some eBay stuff too, especially for those like returns, or those kind of death piles, if you will. And honestly, I've been buying some stuff on Amazon for Amazon to eBay flips more recently, just like stuff I'm specifically buying for eBay, which has worked out quite well just for some quick cash, because you get that money so fast on eBay. So it's a great thing. Cool. Well, that is the call. We'll end it. We'll get this uploaded. It'll be obviously on the YouTube. If you're already on there, it'll just stick up there. And then we'll put it in the group too for anyone that wants to watch the replay. And I think we already have confirmation that the channels for Jeff and Joe will be live tonight in the TheBuyBox. I can't promise that they'll be in there tonight because they have bedtimes, but they'll be up and you can start talking and asking questions.
Cool. Good. Thanks, everybody. We hope to see you all in there.
Yep. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, all.